All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Serious Angler Podcast, powered by X2 Power Batteries. And we are back with our fantasy fishing episode. The crew is back. Well, the full crew, except for we are Brennan Chapman-less. And we're taking bets on either if he's actually late or if he just doesn't want to see his face and borrow Justin Largen's paper bag from a recent episode with the performance lately. But that could go for a few of us before we get into today's episode. But before we get into all the shenanigans, fellas, we got the whole crew here. We got the captain, we got Justin, we got Deakin, we got Mr. Boomer. Fellas, how things been going?
Things are good, man. I can't complain anyway. I'm not fishing as many bigger tournaments this year, so it's been kind of a sprint on a couple local ponds, and I fished the Wyoming Bass Nation event this weekend, and I missed it by a quarter of a pound, unfortunately. So I took second, and first would have been a straight to the Bass Nation National Championships. So that one kind of stung a little bit, but it was a good weekend, and we've got 2 more tournaments out there the next 2 weekends. So excited.
Heck yeah. I didn't even realize there's bass fishing in Wyoming.
That's why it's in Idaho. The state tournament is in Idaho. Like that's
yeah, they only have Flamin' Gorge, right?
Yeah, they've got like Flamin' Gorge, which is actually a cool body of water. I've heard. I've never been on it, but yeah, they don't have much. So like honestly, I don't know if I saw a couple Wyoming plates. It was mostly like Utah and Idaho truck plates. Like I didn't see very many actual.
Very interesting.
It's like the Bass Nation is, I don't know, out west anyway, and Boomer knows this. Like guys fish other states fairly often just because you're close, or you can't make a schedule somewhere like Montana, Idaho guys, Washington guys. They all kind of cross over.
Yeah, Andy and I feel that with Ohio does like all of their trail tournaments up here. PA, they come up to New York. I mean, if I was in those states too, I'd do the same thing, but we also just give them a lot of crap just for fun. Like,
yeah,
go fish in your own
mainly,
state.
I think
You decided to live there.
Yeah.
You decided to move to Ohio. That's your own problem. Fish your own state.
And Ohio actually has a few decent reservoirs, but I don't know why they come to Chautauqua. That lake is terrible.
Yeah, they come to the one lake in New York that actually is garbage.
Is it worse than the Ohio River?
It might be worse.
I don't know
Really?
about that. There's bigger fish in it than the Ohio, but
Okay, there's bigger fish in it that don't eat, so like it still doesn't matter.
Every time I go there, I'm like, I know I'm going to catch between 12 and 14 pounds, but I need like 18 to 20 to win, and I have no idea how to catch 18 to 20 pounds there. I think these guys just found one little hidden gem somewhere, and they get lucky on a topwater bite and catch like a 5.5, and then a 4, and then they're right to the top. It's like, dang it.
Well, he says 18 to 20. You're like, wait, that's not that bad. Well, it's one team, and then the second place team gets like 15 pounds, and they have 5 bites all day.
Yeah.
And then everything's like 12, 11, and it just sucks. And you deal
I've
with
heard
like
on the
30 homeowners a day that are screaming at you for fishing their dock.
Great. Good time.
Yeah.
Well, not to mention he's missing a point that there's barely 5 feet in between docks. Like they're so close, and they go around the entire rim of the lake, and it's like 30 miles long.
Yeah, Andrew Hayes is actually from Ohio, who I give crap all the time too. So he's the prime example. Come fish down here, and you'll see why we travel. Well, don't move to Ohio.
Terrible
I've
fishing, bad tornadoes, and just ridiculous crime. Like Ohio, Texas, Florida, OTF, I just die every time I hear that on the radio. So it's like there's gonna be weird stuff happening in Ohio. Don't go.
Don't go.
Don't go.
Do not go. All right. Well, fellas, St. John's River. Any takeaway? I know obviously it was a couple weeks back, but any takeaways from how that was won?
I didn't get to watch a lot of it. Like I had a derby up here then, and so I didn't get to see hardly anything. I checked my score once in a while, but It's like the first one where I was kind of out of town. I kind of missed all the goods.
Well,
I just heard that Corey was stomping everybody, and I was like,
yeah. I mean, they said it's the first time an angler literally could have just stayed at the dock on the last day and not fished and still won, which says a lot.
What was it? 18 pounds he won by?
So I can't remember off the top of my head. I can pull it up here, but yeah, something ridiculous.
It was a lot.
Yeah, like
Timmy
the joke was
on Champlain too. Like he ran back in at like 10 a.m. and ordered a pizza and slept on his boat.
Yes.
Like,
yes,
But I think he still needed at least one of his fish that day, though.
yeah,
yeah, he did.
I got a question for you guys. With I feel like, and maybe I'm way off here. I don't know if it's a forward-facing thing, but like this one clearly wasn't. So disregard that statement. But I feel like there's been a trend here lately. And maybe it's been happening forever, but like of derbies where someone like it's a full blowout, like margin of victory more than 15 pounds. Like you look at Alex Morrison on Texas down on Rayburn, right? Like that was an absolute blowout, biggest margin of victory in Toyota Series. There was just one, I think, on Chickamauga where it was like the same deal. Like, I mean, a absolute blowout. Like, I don't know what the weight was, but they were talking about same kind of thing, like massive first place margins. I just thought it was kind of an interesting thing. I feel like I've paid attention to, there's been more of those lately than what I remember.
Yeah, I don't know. You're trying to say it's associated with forward facing?
Well, I thought about it at first because of like someone like a Morrison win, right? But and Chickamauga, I'm sure was that way. Like it was probably a ledge offshore kind of thing, but I don't think it is, right? Because you've seen situations in the past, but it's just it's crazy to me that margin, right? Like of guys at this level, when you see a huge discrepancy like that, it's just I wouldn't, like with how close bass fishing is most of the time, you just don't expect that necessarily, I guess.
Yeah, I think with Corey's, because obviously, I mean, he was using it a little bit with some of the bets. Some of them he was visually fishing. Some of them he was using perspective. But like Matt Airy was in there. Caleb Summerall was in there. His brother Chris was in there. The same areas where it all went down, where all those guys made hay, which they also mentioned every day they come back and it's a whole new wave of fish that would move in there, which was pretty wild. But
big
like
population.
I think I don't think technology had anything to do with it, because if you look at day two, right, Summerall had a mega bag day one, had one fish day two, and Corey had a monster bag in the same area. So I think it was just a matter of, I'm sure Corey started on him. Maybe Caleb got it in his head or something along the lines of that. I'm not sure what caused the one fish, but I think literally Corey just landed upon the right ones each day because he outfished everybody else in that spot. But it was cool to listen to some of the banter on the Mercer podcast. If anybody hasn't listened to that one with him and Chris, it's Corey and Chris on Mercer's show, and they're talking about Lee Livesey was like, yeah, you could have gone out last night, got really drunk, and just slept in your boat all day at the ramp and just went right to weigh in. It's just,
my gosh,
it's pretty nuts though. That amount of lead, which St. John's River, I don't think anybody really called for that to happen there anyway.
Oh. Maybe
a fork or something like that, but it was pretty cool. It was cool to see all the coverage from Clun, his 500th event. That's pretty dang cool. But that's what.
Yeah,
I think it was cool to see Brad Watley and how he was catching him, flipping, and a lot of guys are actually throwing a swim jig, which was cool to watch too.
Did Brad run to a Popka? That's what he did.
St. John's River?
No, never
it's
mind.
A long run.
Never mind. Good God. I am.
I'm not sure how you're gonna get there, but
I totally forgot about, like, don't mind me because I missed the last Fantasy show. Like, don't mind me. I'm all over the place.
No, I caught bits and pieces of the coverage, and I came in late the third day. Did Corey go to those bedding fish the third day in the morning and then bail on them to go do his flipping the pads? Because I'm almost positive the fourth day he didn't go in the bedding area at all, but I wasn't sure about day three.
I want to say he went in there every single day, if I remember correctly. I think he started each day flipping the pads leading into that, for fish that were leaving or coming in, if I remember correctly. But I'm fairly positive he went in there the last day because that was the whole conversation of the fish that people were stupidly arguing about if he, because they thought the hook was outside the mouth or not when it didn't matter because the writing of the rule and how it was written or whatever, because he's using perspective, that it's, I think that all happened in that area, Party Cove or whatever the heck it is. But either way, super fun event to watch. A lot of sight fishing, a lot of people power fishing, not too much, the looking down deal, which was, I think it was a breath of fresh air for some folks. A lot of top water action too, which was pretty cool with the shad spawn. But which I think we're going to see a lot on this next one at Lake Murray. I think we're going to see a lot of shad spawn, a lot of more glide bait action, top water action, and I'm sure we'll see
big fish.
Big fish, and we'll see some trends, I'm sure, with some of our picks. But Lake Murray, what do you guys got? What are your preconceived notions going into this one?
I got one more quick takeaway, Bailey, that I want to talk about from the previous show. Okay. On I don't remember who gave me crap for it. It may have been paper bag. I don't 100% remember, but I had Corey Johnson in Drain the Lake because I was just like, listen, I'm going to start spreading some of these up north hammers, especially during sight fishing events here in Florida. Like the Johnstons just are so dominant outside of also being up north. So I chose one, and I chose the right one in Drain the Lake. So that was a W. Nice. I wish I would have chosen him in regular fantasy.
Yeah, I think we all did. Oh yeah. So yeah, before we get into Murray, it's been a minute since we did fantasy fishing. So let me recap the results. Currently, for fantasy fishing, Riding Caboose, who was one of two people, he might be making a comeback here. He was one of two people to have over 1,000 points. It was a rough week for the fantasy fishing crew. In last place right now out of our group, but had 1,078 points this week, was Brennan Chapman. In fifth, with 962 points for the St. John's, Mr. Justin Largen, paper bag boy. With another horrible tournament, in fourth is myself with 792. Just tanking, just horrible. In third with 918 points, Mr. Jake Boomer. And with the worst event of the year and out of the group, 738 points is Deakin. Still in second place, though. Not too shabby for having a bad week, still being in second.
That was pretty rough.
And who's having a monster stretch here, leading with 1,091 points. Another week where he wins. The captain, Mr. Andy Full. Bravo, Andy.
I've had some terrible fantasy fishing picks in the last year and a half, so I feel like it's slightly overdue with the chance and odds. So this week is probably going to go right back in the tank. So we'll see.
Well, it's officially the halfway point for fantasy fishing, so a lot could still shake up.
It's true.
But either way, cool to see some of these different trends. Just not cool to watch myself tank. So, so for Drain the Lake, we have in sixth place, losing to a guy who literally gave him a bye week, is Mr. Justin Largen. In fifth, with having literally missed his picks and has a 0 on his name in fifth place, Mr. Andy Full. In fourth is myself, tanking again. And third, Mr. Brennan Chapman. Second, Jake Boomer. And 600 points ahead in first with a monster 1,838 point week, Mr. Adam Deakin. Bravo.
Take it.
Yeah. All right, halfway point, though. Still a long season left, boys.
A lot of time.
All right, let's get into Lake Murray.
Exactly.
Any what are some of our preconceived notions beyond what we saw last year, which I think was 2 weeks or so earlier? I think it was
Mid-April.
like third week of April last year.
Yep. April 20th through the 23rd.
Yeah, I think you're going to see less spawn, so less people chasing fish on beds. There will probably be a few left due to the fact I think we're coming into a new moon. You're going to see more shad spawn, probably bigger baits, and a lot more fish moving offshore. So here we go, start of the Scoper Fest that we're going to see probably for the next, 4 events that are remaining, right?
I disagree a little bit, Andy. I think the last time at Murray, I think you are 2 weeks later, certainly. I think that it will be super fun to watch because of how diverse it was last time. Yeah, you had guys offshore, but you had guys up with a glide bait and big top waters on the bank chasing a shad spawn. Like, to me, I feel like it's not just going to be a Scoper Fest. It's going to be a mix of shallow and deep, and the guy who wins it is maybe going to be someone who's mixing both those up and catches a big one up shallow and then goes out and stays consistent. That's kind of my take anyway. And I do think there still will be some on beds, but just because it's so many fish in that lake, right? Like, when those fisheries that have a huge population of fish, they just spawn for like 3 months. Like, it's not the prime, but like there'll be some, I think.
Yeah,
But I
with
don't
how
know
that
the way.
lake works from like where you come from the river all the way down to the dam, like I mean, Justin, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's almost like 2 different lakes when you look at the east end versus the west end. And I agree with you completely, Deacon, but I also will agree to a point with Andy, though. I don't think the spawning is going to be a winning pattern for this one.
Yeah, I agree.
Where you saw Drew Benton had a little bit of a mix, but mostly had spawners, at least to have his big bag in the last day. But I think the guys like how Hunter Shryack was catching them last year,
Mhm.
wacky rig, literally in inches of water, Chapo in inches of water. One that made for some freaking awesome television to watch, but I could see that being more of a viable pattern this year. But you're definitely going to see a mix of that between the scoping, like you see with Kyoya. So we're definitely going to see a mix of that, and then you're going to have guys that like did what Revette was doing day one that was off to a good start of some fry garters deep. I know Justin, we were talking about that recently with the guy with Anthony Garcia who won the kayak event there like a week ago.
Yeah,
So
not this past weekend, the week before.
yeah, so that's got to still be relatively fresh, but
Yeah, and it was the kayak numbers. There were some good fishermen that fished that event, and it was tough. Like, there were guys inside the top 10 that didn't have a limit both days. So that I thought was really odd compared to how it has fished the times that I've been there in the springtime, like late February, early March. So that had me kind of wondering if it's going to be a little off this year for these guys, if we're going to see the same kind of beat down that we've seen in the past, because it was tough for the kayakers.
yeah, I don't know. Definitely going to see a lot of topwater action. Guys throwing like the magic swimmers and things like that. There's some more of the blue, like the herring style swim baits, glides, things of that nature. But Boomer, what do you think?
I don't know. I was just going to ask Largen, when you put a kayak derby on there, like sometimes that time of year, it can be a points game, right? Like if you watch a guy like Brian Smith, who is on my team, so no argument, he'll run 45 points in an hour, right? Something you guys can't do as easily, right? But he's running 1 to find an active point, and he'll catch 4, and then he'll run 5 more, never get a bite. And you know what I mean? I wonder if that's like an advantage we get to the big gas burners, or do you think that? I don't know. I was just thinking about that when you said that. Or would you guys? Because I've never done a kayak tournament. Do you guys want to go way offshore, or do you guys? I mean, what is the most comfortable way, especially during the spawn this time of year, to go after them? Be tough. Kind of that. There's definitely an advantage to the gas burners in these points tournaments, right? Don't you think?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But I also feel like you could sit on, like the kayak guys, you sit on a point, just wait for them to show up. And if you get in the right area and sit there long enough, I feel like the bait will eventually move up on some of them. I hate to fish that way.
Can't do it.
I'm kind of a bank beater, but not a sit in one place all day guy.
Yeah.
Bailey, you're the offshore guy. I mean, you crushed it there earlier this year.
Offshore, but I have zero patience to sit on a point for 6 hours. and wait for him to show up. Like, I'll give props to a local guy here that we had a tournament Saturday, and he had almost 100 inches, which for the boat folk he probably had close to 27, 28 pounds, and fished a 100-yard stretch the entire 8.5-hour day. I could not do that. Could not do it. He's like, yeah, 1 o'clock it just turned on and they finally started biting and he was catching big ones. And I'm like, I would have been gone in the first 30 minutes if the big ones weren't biting. So like I give props to people that could do that. But,
he was committed.
Yeah. But I think Boomer to an extent, I think people that are willing to go a far ways could do it, especially with motors being a big thing in kayak anyway. But I definitely, to your point though, I think that could be part of why it wasn't as high. People just not covering as much ground, which I think is something.
Well, I fished Hartwell with Bryant. It was a little bit later, but he got all fired up about points, and I'm like, I don't even know. I didn't fish points like that from where I'm from. And he's like, these points are amazing, and I'm like, they look dumb to me. Like, I don't know what you're all fired up about. But he would run 100. Like, he would just run them. And you think, okay, well, I could do that. But just the way you approach a point, when you shut down, you don't wash it out. You know what I mean? You come around a bay and you want to fish this point, you can't come around like this. You know what I mean? You'll wash it out. He was so much better. He's like, just run points. And it was just a skill I don't have. I still don't have it. I don't have a way to do that here. We don't have that kind of feeding, that kind of big fish. But
like, shut down way before it and work your way up.
Well, just his approach and everything was so much different and way better than the way I was doing it. He'd fish 3 points after me and catch them. So, but that whole points deal, I think, is that we're coming into that time where those guys that like to turn and burn can do that. But to Adam's point, you got the scope now too. They don't have to be up and feeding. You can chase them down with the scope a little bit. So, and to your guys' point about this time of year sitting, I am the worst. And every time I get beat because I don't stay somewhere, you know what I mean? I talked to a buddy who stayed in one bay from start to finish. 9 hours, never started the big motor. And he just waited till they showed up, blew them up, and won it. And so I'm like, I'm finally going to give up, and that's what I'm going to do. And I picked like 3 little bays, and I'm not going anywhere. But they're the 3 deadest bays in the lake. Like 2 o'clock, I got like 3 fish. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. But I am the worst in the spring, especially this time of year where they transition from that flipping spinnerbait, chatterbait, swim jig bite to the Senko. When that shift happens, I might as well just leave my boat in the garage. So the way I feel about it, I can't soak a Senko. So, anyways,
I'm with you.
I can't do it.
It's too
I was trying to I'm gonna soak a Senko, and about 5 minutes into it, I realized that every time I got to where I cast the Senko, I'm over the top of the Senko and it hasn't hit the bottom yet. I'm like trolling motor to it. Oh, I'm soaking a Senko, all right. Yeah. So,
that's amazing.
Anyway,
it's a bona fide strategy. Patience wins. It certainly can.
Or run over your Senko every time.
That's right.
Vertical jiggle wacky rig, boys. Works every time.
Every time. I cannot wait till they get into postpone up here. That's like, please go offshore. Anyways, not to derail the show. I apologize.
That's okay. That's what the foundation of this show is all about.
Yeah.
Anything else on Murray before we start getting into some picks? I do have the weather pulled up here.
You got to pull the weather up, yeah.
All right.
The top buckets are brutal to choose from right now. A, B, and C, all of them. C especially. Holy cow!
I thought E was miserable.
C, the top percentage picks. I think the top 6 of them have top 15 finishes here last year. It's just kind of like throw a dart.
I think you're going to see a lot of that of recency bias in regards to that. But real fast before we get into those, weather today there was up close to the 90s. It looked like rain, some scattered thunderstorms. Tomorrow is 90, low of 71, partly cloudy. Pretty consistent wind throughout the entire event of like a west to west northwest, ranging from 7 to a maximum of what I see is 11. So not that bad at all. And then Wednesday is same 90 degrees, 71. These guys are going to get. Then Thursday's high of 85. Just dropped down actually a little bit. Thursday's 85, Friday 81, Saturday 77, Sunday 80. So the night times actually from today till Sunday dropped 20 degrees, which definitely is it was a decent drop, but I don't think it's anything to really mess up any of the fishing. I think they're in postpone mode. They're chasing, but not bad weather. They're gonna get hot in practice. That's gonna be a toasty practice for them boys. Little to no wind and 90 degrees. But okay, let's get into the buckets, eh? Let's see. E to A. Turn our own percentage on. Let me share screen here. All right. So what was it? We're going first place. Well, yeah, we're going E to A, but first place from St. John's goes first, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Cornhole rule.
Capitan.
All right. Matt Robertson.
Just have to get very handsome.
No context. No, like, here's why. What is
Matt
it?
Robertson. Why? Don't worry about it.
He's going to catch him on top water probably, and he's going to get big bites. It's Matt Robertson. He does good on these types of lakes. He does good everywhere, but he's having a down year, and it seems like the last 2 years he started slow, and then right around the mid-range he picks it up. So, yeah, he's got a ways out from getting in the Classic, so he's going to try to make a charge.
It's because he got a wife now, man. That's why. I dig it.
Hey.
All right. Well, Brennan is not here, but I do have his picks. So for bucket, we are bucket E, right? Okay. Bucket E, he's picking Joey Cifuentes. Joey Cifuentes. It's probably going to be scoping. I could see him either doing the schooling deal or see him doing that whole fry garter deal as well, figuring that out with live. But all right, we have Justin. You're up.
Me? I went with a vet. I went with G-Man. He's had a tough season, but I feel like eventually some of these veteran guys, it's going to be their day. And I felt like it was a tough. I don't know. It was he's probably got more experience than a lot of these guys on the lake. And then I guess in my head somehow I was thinking it was going to be a stingy tournament. G-Man is he can junk fish with the best of them. So if it's a tough bite, I feel like that favors him.
Well, even if it's not a tough bite, he'll have a bunch of rods on the deck and run around and do different things, right? And I feel like that's kind of what we saw Shryock do, and like some of those guys that are just banging around junk fishing, catch big bag, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, what Adam said.
Yeah. All right, Boomer.
I went with the new baby program. I got Downey.
Oh.
I think he's a random long shot, but I couldn't find anybody in that bucket. And the more I think about a bucket, generally the worse I do. But it's a new baby program, man. And he had a good finish earlier in the year. So I was like, he might be on a roll. But
St. John's too.
Yeah. I think it was St. John's, wasn't it?
I think the only reason he's bucket E is because he literally missed Harris Chain.
Yeah, I know. So I just there's a little momentum there. New baby program. That's the only thing I had. I couldn't find anybody in there. I was like, man, that really makes sense. So Downey.
I dig it.
I get.
All right. My pick of this one, kind of similar to Justin's line of thinking. Somebody that can figure it out if it's tough, but also had a great event last year. I think it was either top 10 or top 20. Sitting at 13%. I'm going with Mr. Mike Iaconelli. Deakin.
My pick, I went bucket E with Fighter. We're all kind of different on this one, so that's cool. But he had a good finish there last year, I think in the 20s or the 30s. And just as a guy that can catch big ones, and I'd love to see some live coverage of Seth cracking a big one and cracking jokes. So that's where I went with E.
Some heaters and flipping some bass.
I think that Bass should have a random camera for characters. You know what I mean? Like just pick a character every derby who's just Fighter would get a camera, right? You'd put it on Fighter. Swindle's having a bad year, but definitely deserves a camera. Hackney, I think he should have a camera every tournament just to listen to him talk about. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Completely agree.
I
You know
hope
what'd
they
be
watch me or
hilarious?
listening.
Mercer does that live show on his well, not live show, but the live stream on his social in the morning. He calls it Mercer in the morning. It would be hilarious if they just had like the lottery ball deal where they like rolled the chain and they're like, all right, boat number, whatever, you're getting the camera this morning. Just like random draw.
Yeah, that would be a
especially
bad
on the first day. Like,
Yeah.
you know, what do you got to lose that first day of the Derby? They should
You
be a
imagine,
character
too?
every first day of the Derby.
Yeah. Well, you could do that, or you could do like basket throw it to the fans. Like the fans vote the week leading up to like who
Ooh,
gets
I
the
like
camera.
that.
Who you want to watch?
You need to clip this. That would be a good reel that hopefully Ronnie Moore or someone at Bass season is like, hey,
Just we're gonna keep it quiet. We're not gonna share it, and then if they start doing it, we'll know they watched the show.
Yeah.
There we go.
all 10 people that watch the show the entire year. Yeah. All right. Moving on to bucket D. Andy.
I'm going to take KJ Queen. He's coming off pretty good Florida stretch. He's due for a good run of events, and I don't remember how he did last year, but he's probably lives relatively close to Murray. North Carolina and South Carolina guys just understand herring lakes, so I figured that was a pretty good bet.
Yeah. I can see that. I mean, yeah, he's an hour and a half because he lives in Charlotte on Norman. So I like that bet. He definitely seems to be fishing freer now. We saw him do well at Harris. Seems he's had a lot going on. And so the kid's resilient. So I could see him having a good event here too. Let's see. Clint says KJ been banging on him all week last week. So he's getting ready.
practicing those spots.
All right. For Brennan's pick for bucket D, he's picking Boomer's boy, Mr. Bryant Smith.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Got me cats.
Wait, how is he copying you?
Technically, he said it first and like an hour ago in the group chat. So I don't know, Boomer. It's not like you picked him every single event this year, but I think you might be the
every
copy.
time.
Yeah.
Every time.
All right, Justin, you're up.
I went with the most picked guy for, I guess, for the masses. Another Carolina guy. He's got wins. I think he's got at least one on Hartwell, and just dominant. Or I feel like he does well anytime he's on those Heron Lakes. And yeah, I like Cobb.
Yeah, I think he was top 10 last year. I think he has 2 wins. I'm pretty sure they're back to back too. I think either back to back or the same year.
Same year. There was one event separated them. The Texas Fest on Fork, yeah. And then, but Hartwell was a month prior. I just pulled Cobb up because he's got such a high percentage. I'm just looking at it.
Only 2 guys over 10%, and they're both Carolina boys. I'm surprised at some of these, but yeah, that's a great pick. Boomer,
I took Brian Smith.
Copycat.
Sorry, Brennan. You got to show up to defend yourself, Brennan. Yeah. Every one of these guys is good, but I feel like he's a bucket D, which is kind of a gift. I think that it's a good spot. My hang up with Cobb is just sometimes I feel like when an angler gets in that, you know what I mean, that downward swing, your home lakes actually become your worst nightmare because you don't have the confidence to just, you know what I mean? You ever notice that? Like when you're kind of getting your butt kicked, like I kind of feel like I'm in it at home. Like some of the lakes that I should do really well at, I get too much stuff going and can't actually get in the groove and go one direction. So Cobb kind of seems like he came out of last year, maybe like, I felt like he was kind of a shoo-in for that AOY until the last 2 events. So He's
Yeah,
a stud. He's awesome. He's a hammer. But sometimes I think at home messes with your head. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's my
Either messes with your head or sets you straight.
exactly. Well, you're gonna come out of it at some point if you keep going. So
Well, with that train of thought, the reason I'm picking Cobb is I'm hoping it's going to set him straight. And the home lake is gonna boat him well because top 10 last year, and then just honestly one where I think it just fits for him because I don't think he overthinks things from what we've seen as a fan anyway of seeing how Cobb is. He seems to be one of the guys on tour that fishes very free, like similar to almost a John Cox, where when you watch him on live, because he seemed to be on, he was on live like 75% of last year, and he was just goofing the whole time, just throwing around. What is the was it the Zoom Slinky? I don't remember. What is that? Is that their
it's the fluke tail. The fluke
tail?
one,
You
right?
cut the tail off, right?
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, just like a grinder that can figure it out as he goes, and there's like, oh, I'll just run over that pocket. I'm sure he'll catch bass there. Runs over there, and of course figure something out. But yeah, I'm going with Cobb on this one. It makes too much sense. And I'm also had terrible 2 last events, so I'm trying to just get some points.
You take it
Yeah, I'm Brennan this week. He's not here. I'm making up for him. All right, Deacon.
Yeah, man. I went with Cobb. He just strong. I didn't even realize for some reason I wasn't thinking that he is from South Carolina. Of course he is, but he is just so good in that spawn, post spawn, junking, going around, and he finished 6th there last time. So Brandon Cobb.
Last year, a few of us I think picked Brian New, and he had like one of the last boat draws. He was on live too, and like every point he went to had boats on it. And he's just like spiraling because he's like, every point I want to fish has a boat. So he's trying to find a place in somewhere. And I think this one, you could see a flip flop, a pending boat draw on this one. I could see that obviously being a big player for guys at least that are the point runners, the offshore ones in this one. I could see that happening. I'm surprised like a Jason Williamson, who had a great event last year, was 5.2%.
Yeah, I honestly thought about taking him in Group D, and I kept going back and forth between him and my pick and KJ. I tossed it back and forth probably 4 times this afternoon when I was picking. He's got a lot of experience at Murray.
Yeah.
Matt Boyd Fishing said that he's the man to pick. He's got a comment about that. I was just looking at.
Yeah, says he can
pick up on the
herring bite as well as throw the big baits. Clint is calling it now. Austin Felix, top 10.
There's a name we haven't heard in a while.
No joke.
I know.
Remember when Bart picked him every tournament for that 1 year, and he did really well.
Yeah,
he did.
He ran out of all of Felix's success on his fantasy fishing season.
Yeah. Hey, shout out to Bart.
Felix,
shout out to Bart.
Shout out to Bart and Panger on winning the St. Jude's deal. That was cool.
Yeah, monster last day. Okay, from 8th or something like that to win that. But I can see the Felix pick, going back to the conversation here, Felix pick could work because on Boomer's trend of thought for bucket E on the baby deal, I think the Felixes are expecting. So baby train. I think guys are purposely now just having kids so that they can have some added luck going into these tournaments.
I like it.
Just keep them going, honey.
That's right.
All right. Bucket C.
All right, bucket C, I am taking Brandon. He didn't have the greatest tournament there last year, but now that it's going to be more into that post-spawn funk deal, shad spawn, he's, Brandon, he's multi-versatile. He can catch him any way he needs to catch him. So I thought that was a pretty safe pick in Group C that was loaded with top 10 participants and result guys from 2023 from catching them on the bed with high percentages. So I took the guy with the highest one that finished the worst. Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Just reversing my thought. So most of the guys in Group C were like in the top 10 or top 20 when it was a spawn deal, and Brandon finished the worst out of like the highest percentage of the guys besides
38th.
Taku. Yeah, Taku was like 70th. So I took Brandon and thinking that they're not going to be on beds and he's probably going to figure out a way to catch a few to get up there in like the top 20.
I'll be throwing that clutch darter around, I'm sure.
Probably.
I like it. Brendan's pick went with Takumi Ito. And he's not here to explain why. So we're moving on.
Taco time.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Why?
All right, Justin.
I went with another Carolina guy, Shane LaHue. He's had some success there, and I feel like I'm all in on that. That locals, guys that have some experience on that style lake, and guys that have done well there.
Yeah, he'll do good.
Yeah, he was fun to watch live. I think it was day one, catching him on a big walk in topwater. Big Berkeley cane walker, I believe it was. But yeah. Boomer.
Same. I thought,
Okay, we'll make this easy. Same.
Yeah. Like, I can't pick
That
Pollock every time. Like, I get to talk to him about all his tournaments, and we talk all the time. And I'm like, man, this show would be useless if I just Brian Smith, Brandon Pollock, and 3 other losers.
Imagine if Burge was on the Elite Series. He'd have Polnick, Burge.
I totally would
and
pick that guy. Yeah. But Shane's got a pretty good track record going this year. He's got a little momentum, and yeah, North Carolina guy. He's a grinder. He's been in some major tour for a while now. Like he seems like he's a young kid when you kind of think about him, but that dude's a veteran for sure.
Oh, definitely. He's just a quiet, calm, very collected dude that is just straight up fishy. Like spends majority of his time on the water. Just has the bug for it. Like I've been fortunate enough with work to be able to spend time with him on the water and on trips and stuff. And he is probably one of the hardest people ever to get to convince to get off the water for especially when you have him on trips because he just ate up with it, man. So to your point, Boomer, year over year, though, it seems like he's getting more and more consistent. You're seeing his name in more top 10s. He's a guy I throw in the hat right now as a guy that probably has a blue trophy looming over his head right now. Somebody that might be due for one.
100%.
Good statement.
Yeah. With that, yeah, I also picked Shane on this one. So we got three Shanes. Deacon, you gonna make the fourth?
I almost did.
No, I'm not. I thought about it though, because I do think Shane is phenomenal, and in South Carolina is tough to choose against. This was the toughest bucket by far in my eyes. Like, holy cow. But I went with Polnick, and I don't know if I've chose Brandon this year. Normally, like Brandon is a fairly safe bet, like all the time to do well. But I feel like this is one of those events where you see the clips in my head of Brandon throwing a big top water and then going and fishing a brush pile and then throwing a glide bait, like just moving around, chasing big ones. I feel like Polnick shows up in those style events. So hoping to see him do well.
Yeah. All right. Bucket B. Andy, what you got?
Koya.
Oh, God.
Just because I said it's going to be a forward-facing event offshore, I think there's you're going to have the shad spawn in the morning, and then you're going to have guys follow them out to that second tier ledge after the shad leaves the bank. And he's one of the guys that took plenty advantage of it last year. I honestly think this is an event that you could see him raise his second blue trophy this year.
Yeah. I ain't going to argue that one. Well, Brennan had Brock Mosley. Definitely an interesting pick for this one. I have no idea what his reasoning was.
Brennan's gonna kill us all too. Like he's gonna come out kind of like Andy's picks. He wasn't allowed. We're like, why would you pick that, Andy? And then he just totally ran us all over.
Yeah, I remember we teased Andy for one of his picks, and then we're all sitting there in the group chat afterwards. We're like, well,
you know what's funny is I literally picked those like while I was in the bathroom in Erie, PA, like rushing to get my picks in before like 8 o'clock before the show started because I had an hour drive home. So I was like, oh, I got to do this real quick. I just kind of like played any, mini, miny, mo. It worked out pretty good. Not gonna
Probably better
lie.
odds. Yeah.
Like there was no thought behind most of my picks. I was just like, oh, that one looks good. I think he's done well there before. Perfect.
He's a rookie, never been there before, and he picks
That one.
Never know. It's like,
All right, Justin, what you got?
I went with Patrick Walters, another South Carolina guy. He's got history there, hard to beat. I feel like he can do the he's one of the best at the forward facing deal, and I feel like he's got enough history there that even if that's not the deal, he'll figure something out. I was a little hesitant because I picked him. I don't even know which event, but I picked him earlier this year, and he had one of his worst finishes maybe ever. So I'm hoping I don't jinx him. But I think Walters is a lock for a good finish. Was it the Classic?
I think it was a Classic because I had him too. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm back on the Patrick Walters chain. He was great on was him, Hamner. I feel like who was the other? And brain's not working. Why is my brain not working? The Bass After Dark podcast on jerkbaits. I really enjoyed listening to him on that.
Yeah.
Why can't I think of the
I know what you're talking about.
Spro McStick
McClellan?
McClellan. Sorry, my brain wasn't working.
It's all good, bro. It is Monday.
Max.
Okay. Boomer.
Fujita.
We're gonna make this real easy for you folks.
Fujita. Well, and he just had a really good finish in the Open. So, like, yeah.
Yeah, him and Logan Martin, I think, definitely make
I like that
sense.
momentum of. Yeah, I like that momentum. I do think though that why was Florida so hard for him? You know what I mean? But I don't think Florida was easy for anybody. You know what I mean? I think that was a tough one. But Florida has no depth. You know what I mean? I feel like that guy starts out deep and works his way shallow instead of like the rest of us. But
I could see him out there in the middle of Harris just doing figure eights looking for him. It's just random suspended fish.
Where are you?
Yeah.
Throwing some
Random
goosey
suspended
scorpion
fish.
looking bait. Yeah.
Yeah.
In Florida. Scorpions in Florida. Nice.
It's right. Snake bite.
I don't quote me, but somebody was trying to say that one of the Japanese anglers said recently that they don't even know how to use their side imaging.
It's probably
That
him.
It's straight up just live. I don't know. I don't know if it's him because like he was wrecking him over in Japan before even live was a thing.
Didn't McKinney say he was no good at live or at side scan also?
Dude,
I don't remember hearing that, but
I don't know, man. I find myself picking up the trolling motor and looking around more than I do on side scan anymore.
that's what Buddy Gross was saying on our show last week was he thinks the days of the guys putting in the time, using side imaging and everything are over. He thinks if you're not scanning now with live, then you're not being as efficient if you're going to be a tournament guy anyway. Like if you're
I don't
looking
know
for
about
fish,
It's pretty obvious though, right? Like before we embraced live and understood the technology, I just had this argument with a bunch of anglers a couple days ago. But that's the best that we had was structure, right? All of that stuff was groundbreaking, like 360, all of that stuff, but it was based on us looking for structure. And then we fished structure based on what we thought the patterns were, right? So we were trying to apply a pattern to structure, and we had this technology that could show us structure the best way that we'd ever seen it. But now, screw the structure, just go find the fish, right? It doesn't matter if there's a rock pile or there's a little cut in your little weed edge or there's a hard spot next to the weed edge. If there's not a fish there, move on. But before we were actually applying, what we thought they should be doing to the structure that was available to us, finding that off the wall little rock pile. Now they're just they find that off the wall little tiny school of fish. Like all of that old history-based type stuff we were looking at didn't really show fish for it really very well. But the original live, in my opinion, was like how Gussie won the first time at Loudon. He wasn't looking for structure, he was looking for fish. But he just had the 2D the way he was doing it. Yeah. I think that'll be the biggest shift in the sport. And I think that's why it's so hard for people, because it's not just a technology shift, it's a complete change in thinking. Like you no longer really care if it's a rock pile or if there's a road bed that runs through there. Who cares, right? Like you fish, and then you can apply the pattern to where you're finding. I think that'll be like I can see like Hummingbird's next transducer that comes and with the next helix will be just a combination of 2 live transducers that take over your right. What would be really cool is if you had a transducer could do live and then give you history if you wanted it, so that you could scroll back and be like, yeah, that actually was a fish.
Could you imagine?
Yeah,
That's probably what's coming. Something
Yeah.
like that.
I think I'm mostly with you, Boomer, but I do think like structure to me, I find it way better. Like on my side scan, I'll see like something. I'm like, I think that's a brush pile. There's like a little stick or something. And then I spin around on scope and I'm like, hey, there's a whole tree right here. Not because it was small, but then bushy on live scope or something. But I guess my point is, I still think some of those structure things play, especially like brush, shallow brush, like where they're just for the one-off fish. But I agree from the standpoint of like, it doesn't matter unless there's a fish there. But I still like, look for humps and look for things that are going to be fish-y. But at the same time, I now see the fish are actually 30 feet off the hump, right? And they're over here hanging out in the middle of nowhere. And everyone used to just cast up on the hump, and they're actually over here now.
Right. My only caveat to that: what finds a brush pile best, side imaging or live? Live, right? So if you had live on the back,
right,
you wouldn't have to spin around and look at it. You know what I mean? Like we got pretty good up here with our side imaging, especially with some of the Hummingbird stuff. But there's no doubt it's a brush pile. When like I'm the same way. I turn my boat off. I'm like, I think that's a brush pile, and then hit it with the live scope. We go, oh yeah, it's 6 feet tall.
Right.
There's a bucket at the bottom of it. Okay, now I know what the brush piles in this lake look like, and then I can go back to side imaging. But if I had 2 live scopes looking out the side, there's no question. Oh, that's a brush pile. Anyway,
it's true.
Turned it into I ruined the show. I turned it into a forward imaging show.
Oh, great.
I'm waiting for you guys to turn me off. Beep.
It's an unfortunate inevitable now. Is like we even with Buddy, we're saying like we're trying to avoid this at all costs. Like we just don't want to talk about this anymore. And Buddy was on board too. And then 15 minutes later, we're talking about it. So like, damn it, like it's just it just comes up. Like when you're gonna talk bass fishing right now, it's just going to come up.
Yeah, somebody should make like a funny meme of Thanos snapping his fingers, and it's just forward-facing sonar coming out. Be a good one. I am inevitable. Snaps his fingers.
Oh,
be good.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. But real quick though, in Group B, do you think Kennedy would be like a long shot, fun one?
No, he did well.
Yeah.
He did. Let's see. He finished. Looking. Just gonna type it in.
It's either top 10 or 90th for Steve Kennedy. It's almost
he finished 20th.
Look at him! Wow.
I know that's not a Kennedy like finish. Normally, you're exactly right.
No.
It's like
points, baby.
Yeah.
You know he's going to throw the big baits.
Oh yeah. Or do something completely off the wall different. Like everyone's flipping boat docks a green pumpkin. He's going to go in there with a white one because it's a herring spawn, right? Like he'll
be way upriver throwing like a
swim
freaking
jig.
Magnum square bill on wood.
Everyone's like,
White
what?
swim jig.
Yeah.
I'm curious because if I remember right, there were only a couple guys that went up the river last year and they did not do well.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I'm curious if I could be misremembering, but I thought it was only a few guys and they were way towards the bottom of the standings. But I'm curious if that's different this year. If somebody like a Jason Christie runs way up the river or a Hackney and catches him kind of more old school.
I think the biggest thing is trying to make 4 days of that.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw Justin because you fished up it for the Bassmaster event. Like you saw how hard it was to be consistent with those fish.
Yeah, don't remind me.
All right, bad. Deakin, did we get your pick?
Which bucket are we in?
B.
Or still in B?
I went with Patty Walters, man.
Walters, okay. Well, before we go to A, real fast for folks that are tuning in, if you're looking to not pick Kuya or Walters, I'd say some ones you can steer towards on this one was Revette had a great event last year. John Cox is another great one. If you look at how Hunter Shryock was catching them last year, super like dirt shallow. John Cox would be a great one for this one. Yeah, John Garrett. I could also see a lot of people are saying Atkins as well for this one, but I think Atkins only works when Andy picks him, because when I pick him, it never works. But when Andy picks him, he does really well.
Yeah, I think that's the one time I've ever picked Atkins, and he was like what, like top 15 or something.
That was,
I think it was Spork. He was top 10.
Yeah. I think that is honestly, it's a disservice, Andy, if you're not choosing him. Like, he should be mad at you because of that is a proven fact. I mean, Bailey chose him all the time in years past, and it always was detrimental.
And it was always, I have a hunch he's turning it around. I took him one time, just like, here I am. It's good.
Well, I think one thing actually that I could be wrong on this, but I think might be a reason for it is
you stop picking him.
Well, that's one of them. That's a big part of it. But I believe this year, I don't know for certain in recent years if he has done this, but this year it sounded like his wife and kid are traveling with him. And I know he's an amazing dad, so I think that's one where like these guys get eaten up on the road when they're away from family. So I think that could be a big part of it. I mean, you see how some of the guys that can have such a clearer head when they're on the road. I mean, look at Brandon and Carl and things like that. Guys that don't have to worry about, FaceTime the wife and kids type of thing, So that could be the big player wise having a good year. So, all right, moving on.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Boomer.
I'm looking at this thing because I pulled it up when Deakin was talking about Kennedy, but it's Steve Van Kennedy. Did you guys see that? Like Ray Van Winkle, like his middle name is Van. Is that a joke?
Wait, what?
Hold on. It's not on. Like, did you pull up his?
Hold on.
It's like Steve Van Kennedy. I'm not lying. Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Give that man a guitar. Like
that's right.
Kevin Van Dam.
Steven Van Kennedy.
It seems a little weird to me. Yeah.
Something.
Maybe that's why he's having a better year. Yeah.
Hey, talk about
new name, new me.
He should be a personality pick.
They start like announcing him as Van Kennedy instead of Steven. Like, wait, what?
He pulls up. He goes, "It's Stefan.
Stefan Vaughn.
New year, new me, baby." Kennedy's all about 2 points.
I agree with Deakin. He'd be a great one on live. Him, Hackney, and Swindle alternate between those three the first day, every event.
You're laughing
the best part is like if Steve Kennedy gets on like a random frog bite on Murray, like the giggles that comes from that guy is like undeniably. Like,
exactly. Incredible. He just is having way too much, and then he's just always a hot mess. When he's like got one hooked and stuff, like it is just the most fun to watch. Like he's just like, oh, geez, like just like this guy is just on top of the world. He's so good.
Can you do that for us one more time, Deacon?
No.
It's so true though, dude. The clip that rings in my head from that is Pickwick when he was up at the tail races catching them in the bushes on the spinnerbait. He would like forget to spot lock his motor, so his boat was like crashing into the bushes,
running around, dude. He just runs.
You can hear it. It's so funny.
Bass Cat sent him up here for one of our dealership's big events, and so he came up just to be a representative. And he'd go fishing on that. We have this lake called Potholes, and it's just full of cover. And the story, this hilarious story, this guy took him out that knows the lake really well. And he'd pull into a pocket and be like, "This is a pretty good area." And Steve's like, "No, it's not. Let's go." He's like, "I don't see any fish. We're leaving." And he's not even standing up. I guess he was still sitting in the passenger seat. "No, we're not stopping until we see fish." So he's like, "All right." So they just drive around and be like, "They're over there." And they pull in there, and I guess they just crushed him. Like he could see fish sitting in the seat. Now there's nothing in there. Go to the next one. And the guy's like, "But this is historically a good area." Steve's like, "Nope, over there." And they drive over there. He said it was the best day he ever had on Paul's. He was sitting from the seat, and he's like, "Over there." It's crazy. When I heard this story, I'm like, that is not true. And the guy's like, no, I'm not kidding. The first 3 times he told me my spot sucked, he goes, I was a little like hurt. Like, no, literally, I'm
It's
the
like,
guy
bro.
here. I fish here all the time. No, not here. Go over there.
Bro, it gets one here every week. No, it sucks.
No,
Go.
terrible. He's like, that's why
Go
it's
over there.
terrible. They're gone.
I don't see any fish. Like, you can just imagine. I don't see any either. Sitting down.
Yeah. That's awesome.
This is pretty fun. Everybody up here loved him. Like, he came up and instant fan base. Cool guy.
Oh, he's awesome to listen to.
There go my headphones. All right. Bucket A. Andy.
JT Tompkins, local kid, probably has a ton of experience on Murray. Rookie, right? Like, if you don't take a rookie in one of your buckets, you're probably doing something wrong this year. So
that's what I'm doing wrong.
he's yeah, I think he's gonna have a good showing at Murray.
I'm with it. Brennan went with Mr. Stetson Blaylock.
Ooh, good pick.
Can never go wrong with picking Blaylock.
Mm-mm.
All right. Justin.
So I went with one that I don't know. I think it's sneaky. Maybe it's not. Maybe other guys have it too. Guy that's been, at least to me, a little under the radar, but he had a great showing at the Classic and then a great swing in Florida. I like Cody Huff in this one.
It's a great pick.
Ooh.
He's got the offshore skills.
He's
Go with
good
the
on
electronics.
really good on herring lakes.
I could see him riding that momentum.
It's a good pick, Justin.
Thank you.
I like it. Boomer.
Tyler Williams.
Ooh.
He checks 2 boxes. I think the jig thing is a good, that slow fishing style is a good this time of year deal where you're picking up maybe those post-spawn largies. Maybe he's going to be able to chase around. But he also checks the rookie box. And if you ever watch him, like, it's almost hard to watch him a little bit because he's almost having too much fun. You'd be like, dude, you're in the freaking elites. But he's just, let's shoot my jig out there. But I think he's one of those masters of the scope, and he just plays it off. So he checks the rookie box, and I feel like this will be especially, have you guys noticed too that the scoping tournaments around the Carolinas they're getting more dominated with a jig versus a minnow. You know what I mean? When they're not up eating all that stuff, that these guys are kind of catching the bigger ones on the jigs. Bryant told me one time when he qualified for the elites, they would eat. This was obviously in the fall, but they could be over 40 feet of water. But if he threw anything else at them, they wouldn't eat it. But if he threw a jig at them, they go all the way down to 40 feet and then eat it.
Yep.
It was just the dumbest thing.
Just
the
crawfish
dumbest thing in the world.
falling from
Yeah.
the sky.
Yeah.
Like,
It's raining crawfish.
what is this?
I've had some good success throwing a jig on like same deal, like at fish with forward facing sonar and just watching them literally go all the way down and eat it. And you're like, wow, this is crazy.
That's the dumbest.
I agree.
You know,
so
imagine
It's
how
like
many fish you
off the
flipped at
falling.
though on like a grass line of like 16 foot and they're like 2 foot off the surface and they chase it all the way down. You feel that thump. You're like, oh, now it all makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm fishing 16 feet of water. They're on the bottom.
Yeah.
Until forward imaging was, you're out looking for 16 feet of water and those things were this far under. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're chasing it all the way down.
It is the
Like,
truth
Guys are
factor,
throwing in like
dude.
a 1 ounce jig. Like that bass has to react so quick to that cricket going by. Like, what was that?
Now you watch, like if you I've like screwed around and punched a little bit on mats that were high enough to where I could see, and it's like, oh my gosh, an ounce goes through the water very fast. Like it's just like,
Yeah, it's gone.
It's like a rocket.
You guys seen those memes lately? They're like crazy lightning like flies or on the road or whatever, and it's like the Lightning McQueen where it goes that like that's what it is.
That's a 1 ounce. That's a 1 ounce punch weight.
Yeah.
that's exactly right.
Oh, that's amazing. For my pick for A, he's a guy I think I want to see win a Blue Trophy really bad, probably more than probably tops the list for me, at least right now. And it was super fun watching him on live. We talked about him already. I'm riding the Hunter Shryock train for this one. I think it's
Nice.
That time of year, I think literally what he found is only going to get better as they become more and more post spawn. And he was around some giants, and he caught a bunch of giants, and I think he's got that stretch dialed. And then what I've learned and heard from people that live on Murray is that history plays. Typically, those stretches stay good year after year. So I could see Hunter pulling away with a blue trophy on this one if he can beat the scopers.
I agree.
But,
I like that.
Yeah. Deacon?
Yeah, bucket A for me was like either I think you got to have a rookie because that was I like Hunter a lot in this one, just like you said with what he was doing. But I kind of was thinking JT Tompkins, but man, the Trey McKinney train, he is straight up catching them, and he just has the hot hand right now. I think he's really good. We haven't really seen him on spotted bass lakes, but I'm sure he's had experience there through the opens and everything else. And the largemouth are going to play, so he just a fish catcher. So that's my bucket A pick.
Have you picked him in every event so far?
I think so.
No, I'm the one that was picking trail.
Look, yeah, it's normally Boomers. Boomer's been riding that train, but let's see what.
I kind of like a bummed I haven't.
I did not last weekend.
Deacon's the one that just drools over him in the group chat every week. For
Neither did I. I didn't in the fourth week
He's been
either.
catching them.
I need to be picking him. I haven't picked him in the last 3 weeks. Let me see.
As long as there's no wake zones, then he'll be fine.
I picked him in the first event, and that was the only time that I've picked him was at Toledo.
This comment from Matt Boyd.
Dude, Matt, that's
my 1 ounce jig is like fast AF Boyd. To Matt Boyd, to his point, you can't go wrong with Jordan Lee either. Also been his worst finish so far is 15th. He's back and he's got the hot hand. I don't know if anybody read the recent Bass Blaster newsletter that he did the 5 Qs with Jordan. It sounds like the dude's just could not be happier with where he's at. One, career wise, what he's doing, fishing wise, being back on bass. So I feel like this one you can't go wrong picking Jordan anywhere.
When you fish free, you're dangerous. So
He's won classics, he's won ALYs, he's won North, he's won South. Kind of like another BP where you can't really go wrong when you picking him anywhere.
Sitting 5 points behind McKinney for the AOY lead.
that's gonna be a race.
Would you be? Okay, that was actually gonna be a dumb question. I was gonna be like, would you be surprised if Jordan ended up winning AOY this year? Really dumb question.
I don't know.
Would you be surprised to see if Trey lasted out the remaining of the year though?
No, because he's good with forward-facing sonar, and the further north they go, the more they're going to utilize it. What's the next event?
I think Smith.
Yeah, like
Wheeler, I believe.
Oh, is it Wheeler? Wheeler then Smith?
Wheeler then Smith.
oh yeah, Wheeler's going to be an offshore forward-facing event in topwater.
Yep. What do you guys think weight wise?
I have 82.13. I feel like that might
82.
be slightly high.
High.
Dude, it was 87 last year.
Yeah, but they're also spawning fish. Now you have more post spawn. So I
don't
tried to
think so.
take that into an account.
I call it a Debbie Downer. That's what I call
Yeah.
it.
Sorry.
Lame.
Lame. Watch, it's gonna be freaking 82 pounds too with the year Andy's having.
Yeah, Andy's
I mean,
just sitting there like,
I'm just trying to go at it with a little bit of like thoughtfulness. All right. Yeah. So
Do
the
they
last
have-
4 events is Wheeler, Smith, Champlain, and St. Lawrence. Trey McKinney's going to catch him the last 4 events.
He did say though he on Mercer's show once that he's nervous about smallmouth.
who did?
He's
never
from
caught those
Illinois.
brownfish
He's
before.
fished plenty of smallmouth water, I'm sure.
Yeah, he says he's a river man, dude. He's a shallow river dude.
Hmm.
I don't know. It'd be interesting to see though.
Didn't we make picks for ROI and AOI at the beginning of the year?
I believe so. I think
Have to
all of
remember
us literally
that.
picked John Garrett for the most part.
I said Patrick.
I think I had JT Tompkins. ROI.
I think I also had Patrick for AOI.
Yeah,
I don't know if we're in a good
those
spot
two
for that
are-
right now, Justin.
I'm pretty sure I picked Jordan.
I'll go
Jordan
back
Bailey.
and listen to the first one and then update who's got who.
No, don't do that.
All right. Justin, what do you got for weight?
I had 85.3, so I was
He's
kind of
close.
thinking along the same lines. That I knew it was 87 last year, and I thought it was going to be a little off, just with how the kayak deal went. After this, I guess to this point in the show, now I'm thinking maybe it was just an off week, tough deal, and maybe they blast them again. But
Because kayakers suck. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is like
waiting for those
since-
boomer comments though.
I think
Like,
the boomer
this is a
mobility,
plastic
the mobility factor is a big deal on herring lakes. Like
Mhm.
chasing that bite, right?
It's a fair
Yeah.
point. But I also think that if you look at like the forward facing tournaments, like go back to the same lake, and it's just since this forward facing boom, the weights are higher. So
100%.
even I tried to say, okay, well it's going to be worse, but then it's also going to be better. So I don't know. Don't copy me, anybody who's listening.
Deacon, what do you got for weight?
I got 88.7, so pretty close from last year. A little bit of positivity, glass half full. We'll go slightly higher.
I like it. Boomer?
86.2.
Dang. Okay. Well, I feel like a turd then, because I'm at least trying to be positive. Send the big fish vibes to these.
Oh,
guys.
so you're going Adam Bartuzek where every turn
He's like 104.7.
like what?
We're breaking the record, baby. No. I don't know. I like to see big fish caught. All right, leave me alone. I'm going 91.2.
I like it. These are all like, they're all within what, 8 pounds of each other. We're all like, yeah, that's BS. It's like, nah, they're all fairly close. Like,
Yeah.
A load of crap.
We got Clint Bartlett in the comments saying 22 a day for top 10.
yeah, he said
That's,
90 for 12 is his.
Well, Clint's got some inside scoop. With some
I think so. Cameraman Cletus.
Cheater.
Pardon
Dig
me.
it. All right. What about big fish? What do you guys think? North of 8?
Oh, let's see what
Yeah,
it was last year.
probably. Yep. I'm gonna say 9-1.
9-1. I'm gonna
I wonder
go
if you can
8-11. Justin, what do you got?
I'll go 8-10. Where do we enter that? I can't.
And
Even
it'll
You know,
probably be
it's just for
somebody
fun.
doing something
Side
right.
by-
So like,
like
You
somehow
just-
I missed this assignment. I didn't do
Yeah,
my
it's
homework.
just like-
Justin,
Yeah,
like,
you
I haven't
just
done it all
send your
year.
money to Bailey.
Yeah, that'll be $50.
Actually, so it's on PayPal, and
to the Sheekin.
Yeah.
So
Write the
if
check.
you think it's a 9-2, just send me $92, and that is your entry for.
to match it up.
Yeah. Did you find what it was last year?
No, I don't know how to find it on the Bassmaster website. All I can see is results from 2023.
I'll figure it out. But if anybody in the
I know it was big. Like I
I'm
just
looking
don't
at the
know.
gallery of big.
yeah,
bass.
thanks, Andy. I know it was big.
It's a big bass last
Oh,
year.
I
Thanks,
think,
Andrew.
I think it was like I feel like it was over 9.
Okay. Oh,
thought-
it
I
was
thought,
Matt Robertson, 614. His
Really?
big bat, yeah.
That was
his big. I was gonna say something like 7, but his big bite waned and he fell to 9th before dropping to 29th. But he earned $1,000 bonus. That may have just been. Oh, that was big bass of day 1. Sorry. So 614 was the first day big bass. Brandon Card has day 2 with another 614. There's just a
Christie
lot
had
of like
the biggest
heavy
bass of
fish.
the year, didn't he?
Yeah.
9.3 or something.
Yeah, but that
Wasn't
was on
Christie's
lay.
frog? Yeah, but that
Yeah.
was the big bass of the season, I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna find
what-
it.
what was it?
8-1.
No.
8-1. Here we go. Day 1's
Mm.
Phoenix. Oh wait, I'm dumb, guys. Don't listen to me ever again. I have the page half filled out. What? Okay, it says that the article is a Mike Sukon article, Big Bass of Lake Murray. And it just has all these photos of big fish and it has little blurbs about them. But then, he's talking about a different event on an 8-pounder. I'm just, come on, man.
The research team here.
I'm trying, man. I can't find anything that's like above that 614.
Couldn't resist. Soundboard's actually working.
Junior.
Yeah. All right. Well, what do you think it's going to be, Deacon?
I'm going to go 714.
714. Okay. Boomer.
713 and a half.
Can I change mine to 712?
You guys are both losers.
I'm gonna go 814 or 715.
There you go.
816.
All right. Let's rifle off our drain the lake here. Andy, let her rip.
All right, I got Todd Otten, Hank Cherry, Joey Cifuentes, Brandon Cobb, Mark Frazier, Kenta Kimura, KJ Queen, and Matt Robertson.
Dig it. Justin?
Yeah, Matt Airy, Brandon Card, Jason Williamson, Brian New, Drew Cook, Drew Cook, Drew Benton, KJ Queen, and JT Tompkins.
Yeah, I think there's a trend amongst all the picks here.
Mm-hmm.
I went Matt Airy, Hank Cherry, Kioya, Shane LaHue, Hunter Shryock, Jason Williamson, Jake Whitaker, and JT Tompkins. What you got, Deke?
Everyone from South Carolina, and then Hunter Shryock.
Love it.
Fair enough. Well done. Boomer?
Otten, Gallant, Williams, Mueller, Welcher, Cobb, Iconelli, and Kelly.
You didn't want to
Jonathan
say
Kelly.
Coop for the St. Lawrence, huh?
No. The
He's
St.
sitting there
Lawrence.
like, "Ah, crap.
No.
Like, we're going north? No one told me.
Yeah.
Who is it? Was it Andy that took Corey? Or no, it was you, Deacon, that took Corey Johnson. Yeah, we were just talking about that.
I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
You don't want to have 4,000 points by taking all the Canadians in St. Lawrence?
Everyone's gonna have 4,000 points.
Yeah. Yeah. I dig it. Well, anything we might have missed on Murray, boys?
I'm excited for it, man. I'm not going to be able to tune in. Got a derby as far as coverage goes, but I cannot wait to see the clips after because this is going to be one of those big bass, big baits, like just a bunch of fun.
Yeah, I'm excited from the standpoint I get to watch a full weekend because I usually I'll have trips or I'll have a tournament myself type of deal. But I'm going fun fishing most of the weekend, but also have sister-in-law's graduation, so I might or might not get in trouble watching live coverage at the ceremony. But we're gonna try either way. We're gonna make it work. But fun fishing though, I can watch it while I'm fishing. So I'll be watching fishing while I'm fishing. So with the new I got the new Apex on my kayak now, so I can HDMI in and watch it on my unit.
Oh man.
Yeah, I'm gonna get some crap for that. But boys, anything else coming up that the folks should know about? Boomer or Justin, anything like that? No.
Oh,
I got nothing.
bassin season. We're in full on bassin season here. It's kind of nice. We're late starters like you guys. It's a good feeling.
It's like every day right now. It's great.
Yeah. I like. I mean, when you, I'm not having great finishes. I'm making stupid mistakes, but the nice thing is there's always another one the next week. You know, like when we're spacing them out in the fall, you got to live with your misery for 2 or 3 weeks. Now you just like suck it up and turn around and go to the next one. You know. Have you guys ever heard of the 7-day rule? This is a rule that an old pro told me one time. He said, "Nothing I say 7 days after a butt whipping can be used against me." And I'm like, I don't know what that means. But you know how like you get whooped real bad and you come home and you're like, I'm selling it all. Taking up golf. You know what I mean? And then like 3 days later, the juices come back because the next derby's coming. And your wife's like, I thought you were selling that stupid boat. You were cursing. And you're like, nope, I was in the 7-day rule. Yeah. Well, I got a 7-day rule going right now. Yep.
I thought it was 24 hours, but I like 7 days better.
Yeah, you tend to rant too long, so I gotta push the days out. Stupid bass fishing.
Yeah. I don't know why we do this stupid sport.
Yeah. The drive of shame when you're like, screw this. Stop and get the greasiest cheeseburger. I don't care about my weight. I don't care about my health. This sport sucks. And then 2 days later, you're like, I think we're going to Ponderay Lake tomorrow. Just switch.
Oh, it's so true.
Yeah.
It's a problem. It's such a problem.
Crazy sport. Crazy sport we're part of.
Yep. Well, boys, fun show as always.
Oh,
Folks, appreciate y'all for tuning in. You guys are amazing. Tomorrow night we are having on Mr. Garrett Paquette, who's fresh off of a great event at Logan Martin, as well as we talked about a little bit on today's show. Adam Bartuzik, who won the St. Jude event with Matt Pangrak, will be joining us as well. We might even have a couple more guests, still trying to get them confirmed, but it'll be a fun live show right here tomorrow night, exactly where you're watching from, 8 p.m. Eastern. Check out the Business from the Bass Boat episode with Rich Lindgren that dropped today. And Justin, any KFW coming up this week?
Nope, it's going to be a surprise.
Yeah. It's like, nope, deal with it. Well, boys, appreciate it as always. And folks, we will talk to y'all tomorrow night. Peace.